collaborator as talented as Rob Tempest. The grammar of this form wasn't at my fingertips. I'll give you an example. The sort of the ability. So what happened is that I wrote a script basically, a screenplay essentially, and then I gave it to Rob, and then Rob would do sort of pencil sketches of what it would look like. And inevitably, when those pencil sketches came back, I would be Xing out words because I'd overwritten everything. Massive, because I wanted to explain everything. And yeah, so one example would be, I had Johnny saying, Yuko saying to Johnny, Johnny, in her dialogue, Johnny, you look puzzled. And Rob said, Dan, we can just make Johnny look puzzled. Okay? We don't, and so it was that sort of stuff that was not at my fingertips at all. I got better at it, but I had a very good collaborator on that. I'd never written any real fiction before, and I remember coming downstairs and saying to my wife at one point, it's like, maybe I should just do fiction now, because you can make stuff up. I mean, it's like, if two people aren't in the room, and you want them in the room, like let's say I'm doing this story about, Wired story about doujinshi, and I interview one person on Tuesday in this place, and I interview someone else on Wednesday in that place. I can't say that they were together in a room on Friday, all right? That's a massive breach of access. There's no way you can do that, but in fiction, hello, it's Friday, it's Saturday, you can make stuff up. So that was kind of liberating. But telling stories with pictures is something that because I had a very much of a prose, P-R-O-S-E mind, sort of like learning a second language. Heath, my old friend Heath in the back row.
So, if the manga industry is on the decline, what are some of the things that publishers are doing to combat that? Like in the U.S., they're licensing more aggressively for movies. They follow the manga model somewhat in terms of style, and a subscription model online. What are they doing in Japan?
To some extent, they're importing manga from other places, so kind of, sorta. That's just starting, and they're trying to experimenting it on other platforms to not much success. So, for instance, there's some people trying a Keitai manga, cell phone manga, but manga doesn't work that well on a tiny screen. There are people trying to put it online, so they're trying that sort of thing. But mostly they're crossing their fingers and trying to keep their old customers, and in some ways it's demographic, hoping the birth rate goes up. Yes, sir.
What do you think are some of the biggest blockades in America for people accepting manga as a viable medium?
What are some of the biggest blockades in America for people accepting manga as a viable medium? I think it's probably most people haven't read it. And so we have this notion that comics are for kids, comics aren't serious. And I think that's changing. I mean, Art Spiegelman won a Pulitzer Prize for Mouse, a graphic novel. Graphic novels have a certain amount of literary street cred right now. So I think in the literary world, graphic novels in general have some amount of credibility and are taken seriously. But literary novels, whether they're graphic or conventional novels, just aren't a mass medium. And I like mass media. And I think that it's a very expressive way of telling a story. I think once people understand it, they can be hooked. And I'll tell you something about that. I mean, in interviewing manga artists and manga creators and manga publishers, one of the things that came up over and over again as I tried to, because originally I was sort of interested in sort of unpacking how manga actually worked. Sort of what's the grammar of manga? What's the rules of how it actually operates? And that turned out to be a little bit elusive and not, they're like, I can tell by your facial expressions, like 3 people might be interested in that. But one of the things that came out, which is really, really important, is that, two things. First is that manga or graphic novels is not words with pictures added to them, or pictures with words added to them. It's its own medium. In the same way that television isn't theater on videotape. It's a totally different medium. And so, and one of the things about this medium that came up over and over and over again is the speed of manga. The speed. Manga is fast. And those of you who are manga readers know you can rip through one of these things very quickly. So this book was designed to be read very quickly. If this book takes over an hour for anybody to read, I feel like I've failed. It's meant to be read in less than an hour. And we've done a few sort of small